Despite everything, you find your reasons to go forward with it. Alright Carl, listen up. Fundy is planning to jump your army while you're waiting. If you're on the lookout for them though, you can catch them off guard instead. That's all I know, they're unprepared and rushing everything. Carl nods, salutes and runs off through the front gate. How no one noticed him is beyond your understanding, but as you stare at the doors he left open, a paw rests on your shoulder. Here's the armor you'll need. Say, how good are you with a bow and arrow? You get kitted out in enchanted diamond armor, an iron axe, shield, and enchanted crossbow with equipped harming arrows. You know you're going to be using them against the people who gave them to you, but you don't feel much regret. You've made your choice anyways, there's literally no going back. Tommy seems to ignore you as he commands the army of questionable skill and strength forwards, Fundy closely behind him and advising him on strategic moves he can use during the upcoming battle. It's not until you're shooting range from Dream's army when the calm is suddenly disrupted by 3 flaming arrows almost striking you before you manage to hastily block. Fundy's shield is struck head on, breaking clean in half, and he stumbles back in shock. More arrows fly in and members of the army come jumping from all directions, and as the battlefield fills with the clanging of swords and yelling, you manage to quickly switch sides, battling Tommy with your iron axe against his netherite sword. You're pushed back, nearly bumping into the back of a fighting Ranbu, and manage to strike back, almost hitting Tommy in the chest. He stumbles back, spitting, "You traitor! I was beginning to trust you!" "No you weren't," you cut him off, and he rolls his eyes. "Alright, I wasn't, but that doesn't mean you can betray us like that and get away with it. I'm gonna make you pay, you hear me?" An arrow flies by from behind Tommy and he barely dodges, and as he turns to look and subconsciously lowers his shield, you throw your axe, knocking his sword out of his hand and pull out a knife from your pocket, holding it to his neck before he has the time to react. The boy begins to struggle, and although you aren't trying to hurt him, you press the knife further, which causes him to stop, breathing raspfully and dropping his shield. "Tommy?" A high-pitched voice sounds in front of you, and you look up to see a blonde boy in a pastel green shirt standing there. Tommy! "Call off your army, or the general gets it," you command in a cold tone of voice, and the boy swallows. Tubbo, watch out!" Fundy yells and pushes him out the way of a flaming arrow. As the two get up from the ground, your eyes meet Fundy's, and his expression is indescribable. "Call them off, Fundy, please," Tubbo begs at the edge of tears. The next few seconds pass in a blur. Fundy shakily takes his white handkerchief off his neck and waves it in the air, Tubbo whispering to himself shakily over and over. The child looks at you with such plain terror, and you don't flinch. The noise stops, the fighting with it, and Dream steps forward, visible by everyone who now gathered in groups, smirk visible from below the mosque, and you let Tommy go. As his eyes sweep over everyone, so do yours, and you can't help but feel like something's wrong. "Where's Wilbur?" Dream asks. Everyone begins to look around, and the president is nowhere to be seen. Same with Carl. Voices arise in the crowd calling for Will, and you call out for Carl, feeling put more than on edge by the fact that these 2 specific people are missing. "We're here!" a voice finally cries out. Carl appears behind Dream, dragging along a giggling, crying Wilbur, Carl holding his axe to the leader's chest. Wilbur isn't struggling, but Carl looks shaken up. Dream turns around and scans over the two. Carl is breathing heavily, looking pale and tired, and Wilbur is still crying and laughing at the same time, nearly maniacally as he glares at Dream, and then the people gathered, and then you. He ran off to set up explosives. He wanted to launch them into the crowd and kill all of you. I saw him sneaking off, so I ran after him and managed to stop him. Oh, God." He looks down at the crowd, running a hand through his eyes. There is quiet. "Carl, you did well," Dream nods. "I'm sure everyone is thankful for your heroism. And we won, so you don't have to worry about Wilbur. He will be dealt with." Wilbur only gives Dream a teary-eyed grin. You get to the middle of the crowd, almost able to reach Carl at that point, and you throw him a golden apple, which he manages to hastily catch. He meets your eyes, smiles, and you think about thanking him for saving your life before Dream speaks up again. "L'Manberg is hereby proclaimed a town." He glances over the defeated army with a precise, cold tone. "The same rules work there as they do everywhere else. No illegal activity, no griefing, and no substances. You will all be treated according to the crimes that you commit." The slow realization slowly catches up to the L'Manbergians, but seeing what remained of Wilbur, they stay quiet. Dream nods after the reaffirming silence. You're allowed to regroup and leave the battlefield. Everyone begins reassembling into crowds, especially around Carl, as people from both sides congratulate him for saving the day. Whether they're pro-Dream or not, no one wants to be blown up, and just the thought that that could have happened seems to freeze your brain into a state of shock. A hand snatches your arm and pulls you aside, and you're face to face with Dream. "You did well too. The information you got us proved very important. Now, I think it's time to discuss your reward. I have a slightly different offer for you than I had before that you can choose as an option. You nod your head as he speaks, prompting him to continue. I see that you and I share the same views, and you seem to be determined to do what is right and give people the things that rightfully belong to them. Now that L'Manberg is a town, I have control over this place and its citizens again, and I'd like to pass on a bit of that control over to you as a reward. You've seen for yourself that these people have the ability to be dangerous to themselves and others. What would you say to make sure they don't hurt anyone? You could be in charge of making sure no one steps out of line and become my vassal. You'd be given the resources needed to watch over and enforce laws on the people of this town, make sure that they don't try anything. Or you could become a noble, be given land and resources, and live in Eretz Castle. What do you say?